So here we are, example 3, example 4, although it's called example 2, it's example 2 of this section. So I'll have to do some relabeling of some examples here, but factor this using greatest common factors. So you have to be a little bit careful with these longer string polynomials and greatest common factors, because all kinds of different little things can go wrong. You get nasty negatives happening, you might miss a term, so just be very, very careful. Okay? So we take each of our terms, not negative 2, and I don't want red either. Negative 12x cubed y and negative 20xy squared and negative 16x squared y squared. Okay. A little bit of an extra rule that you might want to remember is that if I have negatives, lots of negatives, in this case each of these terms is negative or minus, my factor, I might want to factor out a negative value. Okay? Some answers will show it's not factored out, some answers will. Just make sure that if you do factor out the negative, that you do change the signs, which you'll see in a second, but you do change all the signs. And you just need to reverse answers if it shows in the textbook. Okay, so if I write out my factors of all of these terms, and I didn't show the negative up here just because I wanted to first show you what the greatest common factor idea was all about. So here, what I am going to do though is I'm going to say, you know what, 12 or negative 12 breaks down into negative, in this case negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 3, and then times x times x times x times y. Negative 20 be negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 5 times x times y times y. And negative 16, negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times x times x times y times y. So there are my factors, prime factorization for each of those three terms. Now you can see that common between all three is that negative 1. So I'm actually going to factor that out, negative 1. What else is common? This 2, this 2, no more 2's, this x, no more x's, and this y. So my factor is going to be negative 1 times 2 times 2 times x times y, or what is that, negative 4xy. And what am I left with? Up here I'm left with 3x squared. Here I'm left with 5y. Here 4xy. See, I almost made a mistake there. That's the kind of mistake that you need to make sure that you're not going to do. 4xy. Almost missed that. So then my leftovers would be 3x squared minus 5y minus 4xy. There's my factor of my bigger polynomial. Now, if you're at the point where you can look at each of these and say, hey, you know what, my biggest factor that I can take out of both of those or all three of those terms is 4xy, then you can just start working from there. But it's going to take you a little bit of practice to get there. Okay? So lay out how you want to factor using prime factorization, pull out your greatest common factor, figure out what you have left over, and write down your polynomial. That question factored. Done. Assignment at the bottom of the page. If you want to work ahead, you can start working on it now. Otherwise, we'll see you in class.